Thank you. I never have thought of myself to be an angel, you know. But then things happen that you don't think of. And one of the things happened to me 2.5 years ago. I was working in corporate in a large company in Switzerland, actually being involved in very interesting projects. Not sort of these, oh, you know, I want to leave all of this behind. And it went well, and we got a beautiful response. I get a bit mistrusting, you know, when in Switzerland, when you got too many people cheering you up, it's like, there must be something. So one day, coming to the office, a large collaborative space in the 6th floor, this thought hit me. You know, like a strong voice asking me, what if we would just start talking about love in this environment? And I could right away see the reaction this would provoke. And somehow I sticked with it, and I left the company. And we went on a sabbatical together with the family, and in a very close relationship with nature. The ocean was important for me, the strong wind of the west coast of Portugal. And being in that silence that never is actually silent, but when you start hearing different levels of sounds that somewhere seem to be a bit in the background when you live in the city and in the busy business life. And this is what I like to share with you, some thoughts and reflections and conversation around the topic of love, to have a chance to go into it deeper together, maybe go a next step with it. And it was just so beautiful, the whole process of being invited to this conference. It was a process of love in the preparation, and also the hours being here, the many, can you say, love notches you get just in the right moment. The last one over lunch break, when I got mentored from a much more experienced speaker than me, with very good insights to proceed on. So, color, and Katie, thank you so much, because love and nature and life is a lot about color. And we can ask ourselves, what if love is not all about rainbows and butterflies, or not so much? And what if the potential of love even goes way beyond the stories we tell? Stories about I love you and you love me, or I love you and you don't, or I don't and you do. And you can follow me on all the variations there are. We have them in our music, in our books, in most of our books, in our movies. We wear them on t-shirts sometimes, and these are beautiful stories. Heartbreaking stories, heartwarming stories. And another thing I found interesting is that we also seem to have quite explicit rules, or behavior rules maybe, where to talk about love and where not. So in our somehow private, personal realm, intimacy, relationship, most of us agree this to be the most important topic, energy, field that nourishes all of this. But as soon as we go out somewhere in the public life and we link it to working and to business and to politics, at places where decisions are being made around that concerns families and communities and nations and the planet itself, love is not a topic. I mean, it is sometimes, as we saw with John Mackey before. And there are other brave people who started to talking in the business environment about love. I remember a book I started to read Love and Profit in the 90s from James Autry. And in the conscious capitalism movement and community, you see some language of actually bringing the word love on stage. Interesting as well to see that love then often comes in pairs. So it's love and compassion, love and care, love and affection. As is, maybe this love thing is a bit too hot to just stay with it for a while. But this is exactly what brave people do and what we are going to do together in the next 40 minutes. Already? Another interesting article I'd just like to mention shortly, because it was released recently in the Harvard Business Review with the title, Can We Really Empower an Organization with Love? From Duncan Comby. And yes, short answer, yes, we can. When we know why we are doing that, and when we know something about the how, as in any other field, the how comes with practice. It comes with experiments, with trying out. It comes with reflection. It comes with conversation. And somehow it also comes with discipline. So this is a headline, as not so much as a definition that I like to bring you. I consider love to be the most disruptive human or humane technology that is available for us, especially in these days. And why disruptive? Well, the moment you enter this space, this journey, this reflection, or you turn your awareness a little bit towards love, you start asking all these questions. And you land with, who am I? We already heard this morning. And what I found very interesting, you very much land with, who are we? And what can be a more disruptive question than questioning our own identity as humanity? Who are we? And I just get a sense, and I see that in the process, in the trainings, in the retreats we do, that love can actually support us on this journey and with these questions. So I brought you some different colors or relatives to love, to expand our notion and our awareness. And the first, just as it happens, is exactly the one it's not so easy to talk about. Because most of us experience it in being together or being alone, in union, in communion, while not talking. And we had such moments already this morning. And there's a wonderful quote from Jorge Luis Borges who's suggesting, don't talk unless you can improve the silence. It got my attention when I learned that the Economist actually, the readers of The Economist chose this quote as the quote of the year 2015. So funny that the crowd of people, a community of professionals whose success actually depend on being eloquent and bringing the right word and debating and expanding that intelligent way of, exchanging, seem to have some yearning for a rebalance of this. So what is that quality that we can experience sometimes in silence, not always? I find to be this a very strong relative of love, and we can call it connectedness. Now there's a German neurologist called Gerald Hüther. He's very well received in the German-speaking parts of Europe, Switzerland, Germany, Austria. For once, because he has a beautiful way of bringing the newest scientific results in neurology and related topics to the public. And also because he's very strong in initiating projects, cross-disciplinary projects that very much function somehow along connectedness. And he brings this definition for connectedness to be this already transformed, conscious sense of connection. So what we are suggesting with connectedness as a color of love, it's not the us and them. It's not herding around the most like-minded people. It's not having a more closer relationship to your loved ones, which is beautiful. But the already transformed sense of a connection, connectedness suggests that it's emphasizing on the we, the most extended and the most inclusive version of the we. So we don't even have to stop our potential with, okay, you and I, we and us and them. No? And this is what love does. Love has a preference to melt down walls. I heard also in the talk of John Mackey this morning that we can reframe and we can use different metaphors for things we are so used to in order to start a different conversation or to expand the conversation. And when you look at love, what is the symbol, what is the metaphor that we use for it? It's a very simple one. Simple question, yes. And I find it interesting to learn that this symbol is just around since the Middle Age. And I just think that there must have been love before, somehow. And it actually got viral with New York City's marketing campaign, I love New York, and everything that comes after. And that's the most recent way of using the symbol. Satya Nadella, when a company starts to love the software. And we all use the symbol. It's nothing bad with it, and we are very quick on social media in all colors. For the topic of connectedness, I found it helpful to realize that in much older bodies of text, you can find, for example, in the Vedas, several hundred years ago, you can find different metaphors for the heart or love, which I just link now very strong together. And one metaphor they very strongly use is the ocean. So imagine our hearts, where the home of love somewhere seems to be, actually be the ocean. I find it much easier to get a sense of this connectedness, of this we feeling with the ocean heart than with this little red thing. And there are, of course, various different offers we also can look at. But let's come back to the colors of love. And I find it helpful at this point to imagine that consciousness can expand on two axes, at least. And there are people in this room who know much more about this. One axis is the horizontal. It's where we look outside into the world and we try to understand the world better and the true nature of things behind the reality. And we gather, share information, and we evolve in knowledge, and is some type of a collective expansion of consciousness, mind-brain connection. Almost all scientific research and the results somehow happen on that level of expansion of consciousness. And there's the vertical axis, where we look right into ourselves, into our hearts, to gather information and decipher more about what's behind. And Stefano Sobetti has a beautiful way of putting that relationship together. He's an elder and a spiritual teacher I had the honor to learn with over several years. And he says, when we think but don't feel, we just are not part of the solution. So again, nothing wrong with thinking. Oh, I love thinking. It's beautiful to expand on that horizontal level. And you can become very famous still, and you can earn a lot of money, and you can have people following you, and it's especially easy on Facebook and Twitter. Well, looking at more the expanded picture, it just is saying that you might not gonna force or lead that change and shift that we are all about. So how to approach that vertical level and what I call another aspect, another color of love. And this is what I suggest to you, that we start with practicing self-love. And while on the horizontal, as I said, there is this collective supporting each other, on the vertical, you are alone. So if you do not feel invited to look at this space and find out what is this unique light of yours that you want to bring forward, nobody else is going to do that for you. It's quite hard. No? So we can live a life perfectly in the horizontal with the vertical. If we do not go ourselves individually with our stuff inside that vertical, nobody else can and will be able to do this for us. I like you to invite to a short experiment. Love is all about experiments. Experience together. And I see that you already sit comfortably in your chairs. And you even can loosen up a bit more. And keep breathing. Breathing helps. So maybe you want to close your eyes to have a better sense of what's going on in there, if you feel comfortable enough to do that. Yes, and keep breathing again and release the breath. And what I like you to do is imagine a person, a place, something that you love dearly. And you let it evolve with you, inside of you. And maybe you can feel some tickling, some energy changing, some warmth, maybe some red color. You know, and when you are with 35% now of that love, let's go to 60. Why not 60? How that does feel? How does this feel? And you are in that intimate relationship and just feeling that love expanding, maybe pulsating somehow. And we have been with 60, why not try out 80? Can we go to a place where we actually feel 80%, of what's possible for a second? And I'd like you to stay with that and then take away the object, take away the person, and just stay with that energy. Here's where the discipline kicks in. Just stay with the energy. And as a last step, I like you to turn around that energy directly towards yourself and start experiencing how this energy can come closer to you, how it can befriend you, how it can nourish you, how it can fuel you. And sometimes the heartbeat gets a bit faster. No? And when you come back into the room with your eyes opening slowly, still breathing, this might be staying for a while. And that's a good thing. what the experience of self-love helps us to understand that we are not depending on somebody to love, to give us the love we are craving for. And if we reach to find this a comfortable stage, maybe not everybody doesn't have to. We can expand it and we can practice it in situations where we normally are in a different state. So in the middle of an intense conversation with my husband, not only knowing that I'm right and he's totally wrong, but also surely he does not love me at all. Why not go there and see, okay, what's valuable for me? What can I generate without, just. And this is also applicable in the business and project world, when timelines get straighter and people are not delivering the way you think they should, and clients are not being satisfied, and but somehow there's this engine you created, and you can give you the love that you crave for, and you're going to see that this will change the relationship as well. So you start with yourself, and it becomes very effortless to actually include more and the others in that love. And there's a beautiful thing about it, because now when you love somebody, you just do, without a hook. It's not so much about loving in order to be loved back. Just love. That's what we all can create and give abundantly. So, second color of love. And when we are on this journey of consciousness expansion, where we all are, horizontal, so we gather new, very important informations, and it's about us. I referred the last time to John Mackey, or was it John Mackey saying that it's us choosing which information we're actually going to take in. There's so much available, And getting a practice of linking that with our own information that only we can access. You want to do something. You want to step forward. And it's again love that helps you with that, or some relatives of love. And I just had to bring that one. Hope I do not terrify you. If you have a body, and I see somebody's around, then you are dancing. And most of us walk on this world with a body, but we learn to not use it. Some of us even, and very intelligent people, think that by thinking even harder and longer and more towards the end, we maybe, it's not an action. It's a beautiful thing. Gathering knowledge is a beautiful thing. But how to bring that knowledge into creating solutions? Through talking, through not talking, through inviting somebody, And so what dance is giving us is just the most natural body-heart state of responding. So dance responds to music, to no music, and has an agility, something that we very much looking for in these organizations, to be agile. It has a systemic agility to be with the flow. And another interesting thing about dance, you somehow come from a state of stability, maybe of knowing, of also feeling. You go into instability in order to find a new stability. So, third aspect of love, which is actually a pair that I think fits just well with the dance, I suggest, is courage and responsibility. For me, it's good to know that the word courage comes from the Latin word cor, which essentially means heart. And in studies they made around body energy, they found out that mostly we have an experience when we perceive ourselves to be courageous, that something is evolving from this part and going through our heart if we let it, into our arms, into our hands, down our legs, into our feet, in order to be prepared to whatever there has to be done, said, not said, listened to. And it's Kusi and Posner, some leadership gurus who made extended interviews asking people what are the most interesting or important aspects for you when you think about a situation where you have been courageous. And there's just one aspect I'd like to mention in this context, that is, we always face some sort of fear when we choose to be courageous. So it's not the fearlessness that is not linked at all with any obstacle or boundary. It's actually the letting that space be large enough in order for courage to come out. And responsibility, it's just a word that always was somehow close to me, but I learned a different notion of it just later on. So I was also brought up, Switzerland is a country, when you are responsible. And you take the responsibility to your shoulders, and as leaders, and we are responsible. I cannot do anything because I have to watch for all these people here, very responsible. And then there's another way of looking at responsibility, and that's the ability to respond. The process of responding, not the load, not the weight we've taken on. And this is one of the reasons I always loved to work with highly talented people and or senior executives and CEOs. Because some of them have an incredibly high capacity of processing information and be in that ability of responding. And we all can imagine what can happen if this responsibility is linked to some core, to some courage that they also find in their own heart by being in charge for the people in their care. So this is something we explore in our training as well, and what I found to be very interesting in business life, that although in the notion of sports and these courageous things we undertake, when it comes to confronting each other, also for a CEO with his executive team, he's just in the same shoes as everybody else. He or she somehow needs to look, what is the fear that keeps me back? And how can I open that space for the system to evolve and to transform? The ability to respond from a place of love, that is what we call love-based leadership. Any place, anywhere. And let's look for a moment at these different colors we talked about. So this ability to lead from a place of love, as a love-based leader in your personal life, what could that mean? I understand that when you operate from that level of connectedness, you start to listen more. You start to listen to different things. And you actively invite different types of knowledge into your own and practice into your own life. And by doing that, teams, organization, you create spaces where it becomes the usual thing to act out of connectedness instead of, we all know, this silo metaphor and all these things. On a strategic partnership level, you find new partnerships that are invited through the openness of yourself, the openness you have with your clients, that you invite as well to be part of this. On a global level, a love-based leader, she or he just happens to act in the name of peace. And competition, another interesting word that actually comes from striving with, not striving against. A love-based leader looks at a competition differently, starts to look at the competition differently. So what if we take on the competition of actually finding and approaching solutions to the most difficult problems we face, the UN goals that you were presenting. I absolutely love the energy that is in this sportive competition. You know, when you want to win, you also want to prove that you can do something, and it felt good back at college to have a basketball game and not losing. You know? But I'm convinced that we can channel that energy. We don't have to leave back behind that energy. We can channel that competitive energy towards much bigger goals and much bigger challenges. This is what a love-based leader is about on global scale. Self-love. But when you build a practice of self-love, you just start taking care about yourself. That also means not so much burnout. That also can mean knowing when to go for it and knowing when to step back, knowing when just to relax, to trust. As you experience that realm of not being totally dependent of what is going around you. We heard about this already this morning on the team and organization level. You create systems where people can bring their whole selves. And this is a reference also to Frédéric Laloux, most of you heard probably with Reinventing Organizations, where he tracked these 12 organizations around the world. And most of them have a practice in not doing, or in some inviting the non-perfect self into a meeting space. I actually wanted to bring that example with connectedness before. It also links to self-love, but let me bring you that now. One of the organizations just has the practice that whenever the team feels that a meeting goes too much in a direction of particular interests, somebody can ring the bell. And they don't have to talk about it. It's just a rule that they say we are all empowered to stop the game for a moment. And again, self-love on a global level, I'm sure it links you as well with some of the UN global goals. And you just cannot help yourself but working for a peaceful, for a balanced type of world. Courage and responsibility. A love-based leader with courage in his or her personal life just knows what he or she has to do, because it's where the blockages are, where it feels a bit uncomfortable. And on team organization level, he or she encourages this innovative setting, because people get rewarded not for making the same thing more effectively, but trying out the new things, the experiments. Courage leads you to experiment necessarily. Dance and courage leads you to experiments. And this is also what I hope for us in this conference that we somehow find ways or places or minutes or seconds when we surprise ourselves. Maybe we step back or maybe we come out with that not already to the end thought, but maybe it's important for the conversation to go one step further. And then you find yourself dancing where you shouldn't. And I heard that in previous conferences there were space for dancing, so probably also in this one. Courage on a global level, love-based leaders on a global level, they do not wait. We understand that it's the time now. You know? Courage is not about tomorrow. Courage is about the current moment we're in and going from there. It's Martin Luther King who said, "Love without power is sentimental and anemic. And power without love is reckless and tends to be abusive." Love-based leaders find ways to stay in that thin line or to walk on that thin line between the two, getting too sentimental, too thrown away, but also cut off themselves for what's actually going on. Some of us, me included, find it more easy to reconnect with these aspects of love, connectedness, self-love, also courage in the natural elements. And while I absolutely strongly recommend to do that as long as you can, I also strongly suggest that now is the time that we bring back that learnings into our interaction as humans, you know. And I normally don't do worse case scenarios and bad facts, but this one just came to me some days before the conference, where I learned that the World Economic Forum released a report beginning of the year probably, where they said in 2050, that is when my daughter's gonna have the age I have today. If we not find ways to consume differently and produce differently, and these are my words, not compensate with having more and doing more for the love we're actually craving, there's a very probable chance that by the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the oceans than fish. So again, also the conversation this morning helped me to understand, yeah, it's one thing to talk about love and to invite people, but I'm committed to looking more closely to one of the global goals that is related with water. And just starting to think about how we can, while doing these trainings, actually commit part of our energy to a real process that's going on our planet. I leave you. That's almost all I have to say at this moment, happily to continue the conversation. And with another headline that you maybe want to try out for yourself as well. So this is another thing I'm suggesting to complete. We are one is the new I love you. Thank you so much.